Okay. So good morning, good afternoon. Welcome everybody, wherever you are, whatever time zone you're in. Welcome to the Bizarra Spiritual Healing Center. My name is Teresa Castro, and I'm going to host today's presentation, who will be Anton, and excuse me if I mispronounce your name, Baraschi?
You could call it Baraschi or Baraschi if you want to be
Oh, Baraschi.
really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Anton Baraschi, who will be presenting to us on the cosmic intelligence, artificial intelligence, and the quest for truth. But before I formally introduce him, we always do a prayer before we begin our service. And just to remind everyone that we are a spiritist center. However, we respect all religions and spiritual traditions. So we welcome everyone and any questions you may have. Tanya has volunteered to do our prayer today.
Okay, with such love in our hearts for gathering together in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, in the name of the mentors of PSH Center, Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, and all our individual mentors, directors, and spiritual friends, as we are here today gathering in your name, Lord. We embrace our individual mentors and spiritual friends and protectors, asking for divine guidance, for divine illumination, divine intelligence, the divine truth, and the intelligence to understand the messages that our brother Anton and his spiritual guides had planned to teach us today in this very specific topic and very important in our days. We thank you, Lord, for all your love, your truth, your wisdom, your intelligence and protection for gathering us today. In your name, we are open our service with such love and gratitude, with open mind and open heart. So be it, so it is. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. And so we are guided by Emmanuel, who is Chico Xavier's mentor, that knowledge and love are the wings for our spiritual evolution. And for this reason, we have our service in two parts. First is the presentation, where today Anton will be sharing with us. And then we have a second part that involves virtual healing, virtual passes. And so before we begin the presentation, here's some announcements for the center. And this is the website, so I encourage everyone to check it out, bshcenter.org. Go under events, and it shows all the study groups for the week. Here's the main Zoom link to get into any of the studies. We have a daily prayer, 6 p.m. and all of this is Pacific time. Every day there's fraternity and counseling available, and it's not just on Wednesdays. So if you have a certain date and time that you're available, you can contact us. And then all during the week, there are book studies, and this is open to the public. Everyone is welcome. Even if you haven't been a part of the study, every week is almost like a new topic, so you can jump in at any time. And then there is a closed healing service, mediumship on Mondays. However, if you would like your loved ones or yourself to be included on the list for healing, please contact us and let us know if that is for a physical or a spiritual type of healing, and we can add your name to the list. And we do encourage people, though, to be in prayer at that time. And again, it's every Monday at 6:30 p.m. and that is Pacific time as well.
I would like just to make a point here. We need to put in there in the website. I apologize that we had not put in yet. On Monday service, you can put in your name in the chat today. For the people who start tomorrow, a new group, we pray for the whole month and a spiritual and physical ailment. And but the Monday service is a study and mediumship meeting, is not open to the public.
Thank you. Okay, so let me formally introduce Anton. He practices bioenergy healing, which is also known as medical Qigong, in person in New York City and long distance. Originally a facility senior project manager for financial institutions. Due to job stress, he experienced health issues. He recovered his health through the practice of Qigong. The practice not only restored health, but opened special abilities, which Anton pursued with several masters. Over the years, Anton has mastered several healing modalities, and there's a big long list. So I did include his contact and his website in the chat if you'd like to check those out. Anton teaches a certification course of bioenergy healing through the Edgar Cayce ARE of New York and privately. Anton's practice is focused on alleviating most chronic conditions and pain reduction, speeding up the recovery process, and facilitating spiritual development. Since 2020, Anton is the administrative director of the New York Holistic School in Manhattan, teaching a course on medical Qigong. He is currently a board member and vice president at the New Dawn Foundation in New Rochelle, New York, promoting wellness and healing of the individual and the environment. Beautiful. And today, Anton will be speaking to us again about this cosmic intelligence. Chico Xavier, Edgar Cayce, and others often in their reading uttered profound content and a faithful surrender to beings greater than themselves. Today, instruments allow us to access collectively held information with an ever-increasing speed. The lure to delegate tasks to machines arises the concern that we may lose individuality. How can we maintain individuality, healthy boundaries, and a deepening of our ability to commune with our Creator in today's fast-paced environment? How can we maintain a healthy sense for truth in today's increasingly multitasking lifestyle? We will attempt to explore together the challenges of times to come and look for possible solutions. Okay, Anton, the floor is yours, and I would just to invite everyone to please mute your microphones and take it away, Anton.
All right, well, thank you for the introduction, and thank you for having me, for I feel that I'm among like hearts. And I always experience joy when I meet you again. Now, artificial intelligence been on the news every day and several times a day. And in the past, perhaps 10 years, we all came to depend on it. Often, the search for information leads us to a Google search, and the same thing will happen when we're looking for people that we just met. We're going to investigate them, we Google their names, and we find out what exists in this collective repository of information. We also find out that more and more into education, medicine, and science, we come to rely upon this originally called an aid to our work. But as time advances, we find ourselves more and more being subjugated by processes that we did not instill, that we find ourselves into. For example, if you have to maintain a certification as a teacher or as a professional, you'll find yourself that you have to navigate through a maze of questions that only when answered correctly will lead you to that particular maintenance of a license or so. And I find this process not to be creative. I find it to be mechanical. You know, I don't know if you had to fill up one of those applications, but if you do not succeed in doing it to a certain amount of time, you're getting penalized. You have to start from the beginning. And if you do not learn how to answer the question according to the original document, in other words, no creativity, just stay to the multiple choice. Find out the wording and the way they line up. And it becomes somewhat of a game. And not everyone from the older generation is actually capable of maintaining this activity. Now, you understand that the new generation grew up with this kind of a patterning. The video games that they play are created using this methodology of levels and finding out where the key words are. So this is actually a patterning of the mind, because the new generation, our children, are taught and cannot function in the old way that requires creativity and independence. It is essentially a training of an entire society toward a patterned way of thinking. And this sometimes leads to pitfalls. You know, uh, we don't really think anymore very much about it, but if you go to the supermarket and the electricity is down and the system is down, you can't buy anything. We don't have anymore an override that allows a person's independence or knowledge to take over where the machine left off. You have to wait until the machine comes back online. Now, it happened already. I know I'm traveling as a commuter. I'm going to my office in New York City and I use the train, and the ticket is on my phone. And if the battery on the phone is dead, then I have probably to pay a penalty or buy the ticket again, or cajole the conductor in trying to get me later after I recharged my phone and the ticket showed up again. So I end up having an extra battery into my pocket to prevent that. So all those things have happened to us. They're here. How many of you depend on your phone for the schedule? And look what we're doing now. I'm talking into my apparatus that connects me to you, and that is a great thing. But should a fault occur into the system, I will be dependent on it. I will be handicapped. If I lose this phone, I can't call my wife. I don't know her number anymore. So what I would say is that, unbeknown to many, at the same time with this appearance of artificial intelligence, we'll go into the term a little later, at the same time with the creation of artificial intelligence, we have also created something that I jokingly call artificial stupidity. It's here to stay, and we have to learn to navigate with it. Now, this brings us to the question, what is this intelligence that we have? And how is it at its origin, and how it is in today's panorama? Well, intelligence, or the ability to think, is not something that we had in the very old past. In antiquity, only a few people had the ability to think. As you probably could think of the Greek-Roman time when philosophy, Aristotle and Plato were around, and they established the basis for logic and the ability of thinking to penetrate into things. So here, it probably pays to recapitulate this thought a little bit. Human beings have a quality that the other living beings don't have. Or maybe there are a couple of qualities. One of them is the feeling of self-identity. You know who you are. You call yourself an I. This is only the humans have it, and probably beings above humans. Animals don't have that. They do have very sharp feelings, very sharp emotions, very acute sense perception, but no sense of self-identity. The other ability that humans have is the ability to think, which is to extract spiritual content out of the objects or situation they observe. You know, you look at an object, and then you could tell its dimensions, its usage, its manufacturing, its history. You could tell a lot of things that are not visible. You extract them with your mind. You extract thoughts from things. And those we could compare with each other. And sometimes we could do things that are apparently magic. Let's say you and I could talk about the unseen side of the moon. You know, if that doesn't puzzle you, how can you do that? Then, you know, what else? What else will puzzle you? Well, it's a magic capability. Mathematicians could formulate a truth, mathematical truth, and later on we find it in life. You know, there is a story from the 30s, last century, that an astronomer figured out that by the movement of the planets, there should be another cosmic body over there. And later on, they found it because by the combining the curves that they were, it implied the presence of a cosmic body that was not seen first. So this ability of the mind to see unseen things, if you go deeper into it, you find out that it has the ability of perceiving divine thought, that we actually call it a law. For example, Newton had that experience with the apple that everybody knows. And you realize that at that time, everyone just saw apples fall from the tree. And he is the first one who saw the apple being pulled by the earth. And that one experience that he had was unique at that time on this planet of ours. He perceived something that no one had perceived, and thus he perceived the law of gravity, which we can say it is a perception of God's thought. And this is a process. I mean, you know, you could take another example, like Archimedes, who was taking a bath and he saw his leg float, and then he inferred the displacement of volume. You know, now every fourth grader knows that. But at the time, there was only one human being who saw this thought. So you could also, I'm going to say, I'm insisting a little bit in here. You notice that sometimes the Nobel Prize gets given to two people. One maybe in Canada and one in China. So what it tells you is that the particular set of intelligence, of wisdom, transfer into two human beings at the same time. And they are sharing in that prize because we value those transfers of intelligence in our society. There are special people who do it for us. Then the knowledge spreads. So this is a point where I would like to add, you know, what we had in the presentation. You know, Chico Xavier, our one of the greatest mediums the world ever had, and Edgar Cayce, another medium type, or perhaps Rudolf Steiner, or you know, Ben Saduono. They're people who have this ability of capturing this particular wisdom, sometimes by emptying themselves out of their personality. They allow this transference to take place. In other words, Edgar Cayce was not a very brilliant intellectual. He was a simple person. He made a living as a photographer. Yet, in that trance in which he was putting himself, he would allow a higher spirit to talk through him. And many of those readings that are captured tell us that it exceeds the level of intelligence that he had in the awakened state. It's an interesting phenomenon. The 400 or so books that Chico Xavier wrote, it was called automatic writing. It was a different being operating through him. And this is a wonderful form of cooperation that actually exists in most creative people. Most creative people call this process inspiration. You got just the same way you take air into you, you take ideas into you. So this infers that there is a wisdom up there in the spiritual world that is actually up, probably is only in the sense of quality, because the realms are intermingled. There is a repository of wisdom that trickles down into our consciousnesses according to our degree of evolution. And sometimes things happen ahead of schedule. And then we have consequences. For example, nuclear fission is one of those things. It trickled down before mankind's morals were sufficiently evolved. And then there were consequences like the Cold War, or what we're experiencing now with Iranians trying to develop this weapon, and then the tension that occurs. I mean, I'm sure that this is for the benefit of mankind, some kind of speeded or, accelerated evolution. But nonetheless, there are a lot of consequences that we have to deal with, like the Chernobyl event in which a lot of an area of a country got poisoned by this knowledge, the application that wasn't fully thought out. The same thing happens when you have knowledge about reproduction. Now we know we could create or we could control the process of having a boy or a girl in vitro, and if the embryo shows signs of degeneration or so, you could eliminate it before it becomes a human being. That knowledge is here, but what does it lead to? It leads to women waiting longer to have children, and then they don't find mates and they have to go to the bank to have a baby. If you think that those are normal things, think again. We have created those situations, we captured the wisdom, but we didn't have the morality to hold on to it. And I'm going to insist in here, because the transference of moral law into mankind happened. Perhaps the most dramatic event is Moses having a vision. He received the law. And today you say, well, it's common sense, thou shalt not kill. But 5,000 years later, we're still creating weapons that kill. There is a war in Ukraine that loses 2,500 people a week. A transference of soul from this realm to the other one through destruction. And all of us are participating in that process karmically, because our taxes are fueling that process. Do you feel good about it? I say you shouldn't. We don't. Can you do something about it? Well, our consciousness grows very slowly, because 5,000 years you hear that thou shalt not kill and you still do it. Every day I'm looking at the news, there is another kid who shot somebody, or some event, that, weapons are used to end the life or lives. Some guy ran his truck into people this morning at a Filipino fair. You know, what is this about? Why can't you hear that thou shalt not kill is actually a law of the universe? You have not created life. It's a gift to you. Why do you think you have this right? And then we circle back and we say, we have tolerated the games, the video games for our kids, in which they learn to destroy the other side, to tear ahead, to explode it, to go to the next level. Don't you think that if you don't compensate with moral teachings, you will have phenomena happen? Well, here you have them. Those things bear fruit. The same way cigarettes created lung cancer epidemics. We wake up very slowly to those things. So, after preaching to you, I'll go back to the main idea. Artificial intelligence is one of those things. It can help and it can destroy. It can mechanize, it could actually capture people into networks of, I would say, oppression. You know, you cannot skirt the system. You have to go through the system. And the system is more powerful than your individuality. If you get a bad rap, if you get bad credit or something, it will be very difficult to correct if there is a mistake. And mistakes do happen. You know, and if you lose a paper of identity or you don't have it updated, you're going to wait and your life will be altered because you have to fit into this mass exodus that we have created. And that is artificial intelligence. At its best, it can bring to us information that otherwise would have taken us many decades in libraries. You get it at your fingertips. Everything that is of a certain subject gets collected and presented to you. And that's wonderful. You save a lot of time in the research. But at the same time, if errors occur, or if you find a situation in which your soul has to work out something of a moral value, you'll find out that artificial intelligence is not capable of that, is not capable of love, is not capable of compassion. It can only mimic laws that we input into it. And there is where the danger lies, because the process could take a life of its own and capture us and make us experience those aberrations. Now, we understand that cosmic intelligence is much greater than we could fathom, and we have to trust it. But remember, our role on this planet as human beings, created human beings, is to spiritualize matter. You know, we take, let's say, mud, we make bricks, and from bricks we make museums, cathedrals, and universities. Matter has been spiritualized with a purpose. At the same time, this descent into matter can explore the destructive abilities of matter, because planets evolve and dwarfs and black holes do exist, places where matter turns into spirit and spirit turns into matter. We are the threshold in which this knowledge appears into our intellects. But with this knowledge comes a responsibility. And that is the part that we have to maintain vigorously in ourselves, such as we don't get lured or tempted for the easy way out that only binds us to matter. We have hospitals where you have people who are not alive anymore, only their bodies are maintained artificially, parts that are replaced. And it creates situations that we haven't experienced before. Because if you negate the appearance of spirituality or the spiritual part of man, That body in there, it's a life without a purpose, except perpetuating the life in the cells. Those are moral issues. You know, we have experienced them. You know, recently I was I watched my mother-in-law, having an episode in which some kind of a cardiac stress, and they gave her a quintuple bypass that restored the body to functioning, but it did not stop her from developing Alzheimer's. So she had a much lengthier period as a being that was drifting in thought, and the personality floated like a balloon around her, in which the soul, the body, and the energetic body continued without having a presence of an ego for a much longer time. And I observed it. She was a, OBGYN surgeon when she was in her full capacity. And I saw her deteriorate, but the body continued until her 90s from a medical intervention. I don't say it was good or bad, but I'm saying here you have a phenomena that is new. We can maintain those bodies going on without personalities. And what will happen if some of our innovators, such as Elon Musk, who tries to merge machine with man, is successful? Planting chips into us that will allow us probably access to the internet or something like that. That is not memory. It is basically data accessing, which creates perhaps a form of advanced genius, I guess. But morality, love, compassion, what about those? Machines can't reproduce them. They can only mimic the effects. And here lies the danger, that those things are going to be downloaded into mankind before we're capable of dealing with them. So cosmic intelligence is there. It becomes accessible through effort, but has to be integrated in the soul world by maintaining those principles that we have inherited from moral law that not everyone perceives. Now, talked about cosmic intelligence. We talked about artificial intelligence and its pitfalls and its qualities. And now I would like to spend a moment about the search for truth. For within ourselves, there is a drive that wants us to experience this thing called truth. So I'm going to shorten the presentation. I'm going to refer to an experience that I had with one of the beings with whom I'm in touch. It's one of my spiritual teachers. The same way Tanya has Dr. Paulo, I have Master Chang. And in the past, he would come and would teach me, and one day I asked him, Master Chang, what is truth? And he pondered, smiled gently in the spirit state in which he was, and he said, truth is the chord uninterrupted leading to the beginning of creation. And I meditated a few times upon what he said, and slowly I couldn't see it any other way. For what he implied is that truth is a formation into one's soul that allow us to connect to the moment of our origin, in which we emanated out of the emptiness or the presence of divine, in the bosom of divine. So a connection to that point that is uninterrupted contains the vein of truth, or that particular deep resonance. while partial truths are interrupted. They only lead to a particular point in history or a particular interpretation. So feeling the vein of truth into something, it's a possibility that we have, and we recognize it through a process that is already given to us. You know, I say, divine endowed us with two mechanisms for orientation into the world of creation. The first one is homeostasis. And I would say, I made up a word for it because I'm fond of little puns. We're endowed with a homeostat, like a thermostat, something inside that tells you when you're walking straight, when you're walking crooked, when you're walking fast or slow, when you're balanced or imbalanced, when you're sick, when you're hungry, when you need to sleep. You even know when you tell a lie. You feel like you disturb something into the fabric of the universe. It doesn't sit well in your homeostat. The other guidance comes from the environment, and that we call karma. The environment piles up in front of us as a sequence of experiences so that a particular result is experienced by the developing soul. So if a tragedy, an illness, a difficult period or a joyful period comes in front of you, recognize it as a guidance, because God doesn't talk in words. God talks in life. So the perception of truth is when you sense the direct alignment to the origin. So in this dichotomy that we have in between cosmic intelligence and artificial intelligence, we have to rely upon that commonsensical, healthy sense of truth that exists within us, and we have to cultivate it constantly. For it does not develop by itself. The presence of the instrument is there by divine gift, but its growth, its education, its perfection is up to us. All right, well, I think we covered it. Do we have any questions?
Thank you, Anton. That was well presented, difficult conversation, and you did very thorough with it. I was really struck by your mentor's interpretation of truth. How beautiful. The chords, back to the origin. Very beautiful. I think I'll have to...
uninterrupted, the chord uninterrupted leading to the beginning of creation.
Yes. It's not interrupted, right?
No, uninterrupted.
Uninterrupted. Yes, I need to contemplate this myself further, but that's really profound. And also I really appreciated how you said, you know, God doesn't talk to us directly, but through life. And so, you know, why it's so important, one has to reflect on oneself. And we have to allow each other the space to make mistakes so we can learn. You know, when we're so critical and so you know, everyone has to be perfect and everyone has to be right. There's no room to grow. So thank you so much. And we want to open it up to the rest of the group. If people have questions or comments you'd like to bring to Anton, now would be the time. Just unmute yourself.
Yeah, hello, Anton. This is Charles. Interesting topic that you bring about. It's contemporary because AI is a phenomenon that is taking our attention. It was mentioned early in our conversation that Chico Xavier, back in the 70s, on his first presentation on TV, he talks about all these advancements in intelligence, in technology. And he highlighted one aspect that is so interesting to me was that that everything that is happening is for the development of matter and spirit. So the material world and the spiritual world interconnect for the advancement of each other. So everything that exists in the universe is for the advancement of the spirit, and everything in the spirit is for the advancement of matter. So when you're talking about artificial intelligence and our status as a human beings at this point in time is exactly that. We are talking about development or continued evolution of matter, of physical man, us. However, we have something else, which is the spirit. So that's what really caught my attention, is that we are working towards the development of our spirituality. So right now, at this point in time, I am a human being living as well. I am a spirit living a human being experience. So the knowledge that is up there is about my capacity to connect with that intelligence. So if I continue to evolve and become sensitive enough in order to connect with superior intelligence, then I might be able to connect with everything. And I think that's the point that calls my attention, is that AI, there's no reason for us to be concerned in terms of fear that is going to take over, but it's for my own benefit because it's going to facilitate. As a human being, I cannot process all the ideas that is out there in order to advance anything in my life. So the intelligence AI is here to support the development, to assist, to facilitate humanity in advancements in all directions, in all areas. So in physics, in mathematics, in finances, in medicine, in everything, is an infinite body of knowledge that is to be developed. So I think AI phenomena this time is just to expedite that, to facilitate, but the ultimate goal is my spirituality.
Well, thank you indeed. I cannot add much more. If we are conscious of our spirituality, we're able to maintain a balance, because the availability of information, collective information, makes so that the individual drown in the wisdom that is collective,
Right.
pulled together. So let's say we have an experience like you have, let's say, a cold or some kind of a ailment, and then you look at the internet at the available options, and then you're inundated with a particular amount of data that you have to filter through, but you're not educated enough as to be able to select.
Exactly.
So you'll rely on averages. Like, let's say you buy something from Amazon, they give you 100 items, and you say the one that is recommended or bought by most people is the one that will attract your attention. So the process of selection is essentially guided into averages, suppressing the individual. And that is a danger.
Yes, I totally agree.
You know, and moving forward, we should actually learn vigilance, because this process will happen without us realizing. It will happen faster than you could keep track.
Mhm.
Anyone else? Yeah.
It's very interesting. I'm sorry, Regina.
Mhm.
It is very interesting how the topic and the connection as you speak. Like my mind goes back to, like you said, over 5,000 years ago, and I would be using. So the mentors bring this message through all of us here together and said, the spiritual intelligence have been used for every the beginning of time that we exist. So what we are having, always we have spiritual intelligence, divine intelligence, whatever we want to call it. And then he said, it is improving time to time, but right now, what we need to use, because the human behavior need to have something, they have to prove itself. So the artificial intelligence come right now to interact with the cosmic intelligence, as Anton have been speaking to us, bringing to us to developing this sense of understanding. And then I go back to when Master Shoa Cox-Swift on pranic healing. He used to say this meditation, I am. I am not the body. I am not the mind. The mind is only a computer of, or the brain or the mind is only a computer of the spirit. So I am not even the mind. I am the soul. And I am in this divine intelligence connect with our creator, like Anton brought the message from his mentor about the truth, that we are linked to the mind of the creator, like all these data all over, we are all interconnected, developing this divine intelligence. And bear there with me, I'm in the minds of the spirit around me too. So we said the mentors of the spirit and now this developing topic, helping to understand that it's a human behavior that we need to have something to hold it. So that is the importance of divine intelligence, the AI, the artificial intelligence. So after this, we will all learn how to use the artificial intelligence. And the next step of evolution, we will go back to the beginning of time again, go back to the cosmical divine intelligence. So then we will be search the truth of our spirit, the truth in ourselves. And imagine this will be a great word in the next step of our evolution. So this is a just thought. I'm just collecting, putting together this information during your talk, Anton. And forgive me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I think that in interactions such as this, our soul confront great ideas and bring them to the fore. And if we do not lose our original mission, then we will fulfill our mission of spiritualizing matter. Because matter in its end goes through transformation. You know, our bodies are meant to die. They only have a certain lifespan. And in the process, we experience the birth of into another realm, the realm from which we have descended. If we do not lose the perspective, then we become mindful and responsible. If we get caught into the web of the moment and we become attracted by the pleasures that occur out of having, victory of the physical body, then, we do not experience the tragedy of loss. For we are meant to die. It's normal to die. And it can be occurring in a gracious manner rather than a catastrophical one.
An example we are having right now is the passing of the Pope Francis. Look amazingly. He prepared everything because he's so certain that the life goes on, that he just prepare everything, putting everything together, believe in everyone, that we are all one, we are all together. There is no differences. The only Pope that tried to unite our religion, because this is the goal of the future, to unification of every religion. We see everyone as equal. Now we are all children of Almighty Father. It's beautiful. Thanks so much. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks, Anton. It's good to see you, by the way.
Oh, likewise. I would like to rub foreheads with you.
Oh, man. Well, AI is out of my league. I'm just learning about it. And I was talking to a teacher yesterday who said that she gets a little bit of flack because she uses it with her students. But what she does is she teaches the students to write it their way and then put it in AI so they can get a different perspective of what they're learning or how to do it. And from that process, she said one of her students actually grade level came up. They passed in English and they had never done that before. But for me, when you were talking about the moon, I would like to know what is on the other side of the moon. Have you been there?
Well, with my mind and your mind, we could go there right now.
There you
Ah,
But there are many things that we could investigate with that wonderful tool that we have. You know, even the creation of those little apparatuses that allow us to form a meeting when geographically we're dispersed. You know,
When all these instruments that we are provided in artificial intelligence or computers and all that is just instruments to facilitate our development. What we're looking for is to develop our essence, to become quintessential, to develop what Jesus resumed in one word: love. Once we are that, like God is love, once we become that kind of love, then we are accomplishing what we intended to be, a spiritual evolution.
well, thank you. It takes courage to say it.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so,
Look, Anton, look, Mosen want to say something.
oh, I'm sorry, Mosin?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for this presentation. That was a lot of information and the essential information that could make our life difference. And this intelligence that we are talking, where is it? Is artificial intelligence that is within us. And I use the Jesus what says, God is light. I am light. You are light. Then you see that everything that we think is within us. The intelligence comes out from us. The two researchers at the same time they found the same result. Where does it come from? They are they have a strong will that they want to find something and that comes to them. That is, they have faith that they can find the answer for their question. They have a question. And so is that. And we can change the world. We can stop the war. We can do everything, as Jesus said, if we have a small faith within us, then we can change it. But we should strongly have a will that we want peace in the world. And when we pray that, I am strongly believing that the power of will is effective. Thank you very much again for all your information that you gave us. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, like in anything, It takes a village.
May I add something real quick?
Of course.
I really enjoyed your presentation. And one of the things that it reminds me of is what I first learned about poetry. That if you read it again, you're going to learn more about what you heard. And I can't wait to go back and watch the video again about what you said, because it seemed to me almost everything that you touched, a wild kind of sensation about it. And I don't want to say too much because it makes me think I will not have thought it through as well as I should think it through. But I will say I surely like that statement of homeostat, because I think that I see myself doing that all the time in terms of walking or whatever it is. What balance do I have in life about certain things? So, and I hope I said it right. It was a homostat or homeostat, or but I like that a lot. Very creative. But thank you so much for your presentation.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay.
It looks like it's capable. The fact that you're stirred to think and you're inclined to meditate about those themes is exactly the purpose that I wanted to achieve. It's an awakening to things that otherwise lie in the realm of the subconscious. And our evolution is based on awakening, of experiencing more and more in our consciousness of the greater truths that are already there and awaiting for us to absorb them and making our life, taking over the process. It's something we call freedom.
Thank you again, Anton. And of course, we'll be asking you to come back in the future. And does anybody have a last comment or question to answer for Anton? Okay, then we are going to move on to the second part of our service, which is the virtual passes, virtual healing. So we'll take 2 minutes and then please come back with your bottle of water. As we know, the spirits magnetize the water, putting the medicine just what is needed for each one of us. And any names you might want to add to the healing list, or somebody, pictures, people you love that you want to pray for or with today. Okay, so see you back in 2 minutes or top of the hour.
Take care. Much love.
Thank you again, Anton. We'll see you soon.